Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the flight deck. We're here in Brampton, Ontario, at the Brampton Airport, actually in Caledon. We are going to be continuing our ferry of this aircraft, the CH-47D Chinook, from Trenton all the way to Mackinac Island for our Great Lakes tour. Last time we flew from Trenton down here to Brampton. Today we are flying from here up to Tobermory, which is up on the tip of the Bruce Peninsula, which separates Lake Huron from Georgian Bay. So we're going to be flying north today, and we'll see what we see. Once again, we're going to be about 1,000 feet above the ground and doing some VFR flying as we head up there. So let's hop on board and we can get the aircraft ready to go. Alright, we're on board the aircraft. We're quickly going to go up to the overhead and make sure everything is set up and ready to go. So EPS fans and doors are closed. We'll turn on the lights there. We're going to set our panel lights to dim. We'll do that for all of the dials. Searchlight control is off. Compass is free. Jumping, everything is good. Heater's going to come on. And we'll set the cabin temperature to nice medium heat. Batteries off. APU is off. Generators are off. AP generators off. Center console lights we will turn on. Again, fuel tanks are all closed. Both engines are in in stop mode. Pry revs are in pry 100% on the FADEC. We are good there. Load share is to torque. We're going to come up here. Instrument lights are going to come on. With those turned up. Emergency exit lights are also armed. Pilots. Searchlight controls are currently off, since we're not going to be using that. We're good there. Hoist is off, master's off, emergency release, and we're set to tandem. Transfers are off, ramp power is on, power steering is off, and guarded and flight controls are set to both. Moving down here to the center, our push switches for the fire bottles are in, and coming down here, our AFCS is set to off. So while we're here, we can come down. We're going to set our radio to 122.8. Make sure that is set, so when we power up, we are good there. And steering control is currently locked. All right. So with that done, we are good to move on to our power up. So once again, we're going to come up to the overhead here, and we're going to turn the battery on. Pop down here and do our caution test. Hold that up. All the lights come on. That is good. Back up top. APU will go to run and APU start. APU is coming up online. You can hear it whining away there. And we'll get the click as it comes online. There we go, and we will turn on the APU generator. Hydraulic power transfer switches are now on. Parking brake lever is confirmed set. Backup power to the FADEC is on. Both engine levers are in stop. We'll turn on the EPS fans and get the doors open, and we'll let them know we're about to start. Alright, with that done, the crew in the back are aware we are about to start the helicopter. They're outside, making sure we are clear. So, left main fuel pumps are on. Cross-feed switch is on. Engine number 1 coming to ground. And starting engine number 1.
Jazz 7946, proceed direct to Mills on course. Direct to Mills, Jazz 7946.
Once we hit 10% on the N1, we'll be able to turn off the starter. Alright, so that's the engine shut off. We are good there. We're now going to go and start engine number 2. So engine number 2 will go to ground, and start switch will go on. Once again, we're going to pop down, watching her to come up over the 10%. And there we go, through 10%. I always forget that crossfeed doesn't work. Shut the starter off, and we're going to come down and monitor. And we're over 50% N1. Oil pressure is up, and our transmission oil pressure is above 10%. So popping back up top, both flight control levers will now go into, or the engine control condition levers into flight. Generators 1 and 2 are now on. APU generator off, and we shut the APU off. Make sure all the fuel pumps are now on. There we go. And we are pretty much ready for taxi. So we'll come down here, turn the power steering on. And from here we can come forward on the switch. And we now have taxi. So what we're going to do is we're going to taxi out to the circle here. We'll make sure we're ready to go, then move out onto the runway and do a rolling takeoff to the north. Alright. So we are good to go. Manual brakes. We'll release the main brake there. Going to bring the back ramp up into the level position. They'll close the doors on this side. And we are good to roll out. So if we do see any additional aviation traffic, that's FSLTL providing that. So this is my home airport here in Brampton, Ontario. Where I learned to fly many years ago. I'm just going to move out here, a little bit of a bump. You've got to remember it's the tail that swings, not the nose. It's giving us a nice little hand signal there. Don't often get aircraft like this flying into Brampton, but we do get them coming into some of the other airports. Occasionally they'll land for a break, or if there's a restaurant at the airport, they'll come in for lunch. We actually had a pretty big snowstorm yesterday, and we've got about 4 or 5 inches of snow on the ground. Would have been nice to see that here this morning, but we may see it when we get further to the north. Okay, brakes are on. We're going to get them to close the doors, get them sealed up. Alright, make sure the barrels are set, directional gyros are set. We're good. So the AFIS system is going to go to both. And transponder will pop down. Transponder is going to go to TARA, and we're going to put in our transponder code. That is set. Radios are set, and we are good to roll out. Once again, we'll roll out to the runway. That door is closed in the back. It is rather windy out and cold today. Runway is clear. There we go. We're now lined up. We'll lock the rear wheels. Come on. There we go. And we're just going to lean up and turn off the steering there. And we are set to go. Alright, so brakes released. Power coming up. And away we go. We're going to be aiming for that 1,000 foot altitude as we fly out. Ditch is not quite that deep in real life. So we're staying underneath the highway, or the airspace of Toronto International, which is off in the 4 o'clock position there.
At 42304.
Climbing upwards, letting our speed build up.
Canada 442, 21.5, comment 230.
To our cruise, we're going to swing out here towards Highway 10.
270, Canada 442.
And we're going to head up alongside there at about 1,000 feet. So this is going to take us up towards the town of Orangeville, which is the limit for Toronto airspace. Actually have about a 2,500 foot ceiling here. Then it moves up to 3,500. A little further up.
Jet 7946, contact Montreal Center 135.6. 135.6, Jet 946.
Does keep us slightly low, but that's fine. A lot of golf courses in the area here. And the terrain is constantly rising. These are the Caledon gravel pits, big gravel facility. They are a landmark as you're coming back in. Actually, VFR radio calls to Brampton Airport will be made over here just as a reference point of where you are.
November 95 Romeo Sierra, Toronto, Center, good morning, 5009 here, sir.
There's the town of Caledon itself. We're just about to fly over. Just trying to get the left-right trim settled in. We're basically going to hold this direction for most of the flight. This will take us up to where we want to go. Alright, so as we come up to the town of Orangeville, which is just ahead, we'll try to get her settled in at that 1,000-foot mark. And we'll catch up with you when we get a little bit further up. We're now approaching the town of Owen Sound. You can see it here on the Owen Sound, which is coming off of Georgian Bay, which is going to be off to our right. And this is the beginning of the Bruce Peninsula, which extends upwards and separates, as mentioned, Georgian Bay on the right with Lake Huron on the left, which you can see up on the distance. It will get closer as the peninsula narrows as we continue upwards. We're going to make sure we keep our altitude down around that 1,000, 1,100 feet or so. We're coming up under a cloud layer here, which is going to run up a broken layer at 4,800 and scattered at 3,000 up around Tobermory. So we're going to keep an eye on that as we get a little bit higher. It's looking gray under the clouds there. So we'll make sure we don't climb up too high. So it's been a good flight. No snow up here. It is saying we've got broken clouds -5 degrees at our destination. But I'm sure with yesterday's dump, there's actually about 5 or 6 inches of snow up here. So we're just going to come around, we'll overfly the town, and then carry on up towards Wyerton. Wyerton's a nice little airport up here. I used to, when I did my night raiding, I used to fly up here just before sunset and watch the sun go down over Lake Huron and then fly back towards Toronto with it all lit up. It's really cool in winter doing that. You could come across here when it was all snow covered and all the little towns had their Christmas lights up, so it was really, really beautiful to fly over. Got that crisp winter cold air you could see for almost, it seemed, 100 miles, and it looked very, very, very nice. So the Owen Sound Airport, we can just make it out off there at our 2:30, and we're going to come down here over the town itself, which is located down here in the low point at the end of the sound. Further down that way is the Canadian Forces training area, Meaford, and just outside the town of Meaford. And that place has been around since World War I. It's where the Canadian artillery trained before going over to Europe in 1915 or so. So you can see the town, the harbor there, and the shadows as we pass in under the clouds that are coming up. That's Lake Huron off to the on the horizon there, and we're going to carry on up the sound. We'll get closer to the airports on that side of the peninsula, and that's Georgian Bay off in the distance there. Great fishing in Georgian Bay, especially if you're into whitefish. In fact, further up on the north end is a little town called Killarney, and there's a little fishing industry there that do whitefish out of Georgian Bay, and they process the fish, and the scraps they get off the fish they fry up as fish and chips right there outside the fishery. It's really, really good stuff. Alright, so here's the Bruce Peninsula. Pushes all the way up to the top. And we're just going to come around here. We're going to overfly another airport, the Quadrant Airport that I mentioned. And the little town of Quadrant, again nestled in a little sound or bay that comes in. So this is the end of the Niagara Escarpment, if you've ever heard of that. It stretches all the way from Niagara Falls up through southern Ontario. It's a big ridge, and this is where it comes up and ends, up at the top of the Bruce Peninsula here as it peters out. In fact, right down where we started at the Brampton Airport, the escarpment runs by. You can actually see it from the airport. Big ridge on the horizon. Starting to get into the more wild areas of Ontario up here, with the farm country becoming a little bit more sparse and more natural tree growth. I've actually got the Wireton VOR tuned in. We're about 6 miles away from it now. Sure, I'm enjoying this helicopter. Now in the next week, it's currently Saturday when I'm recording this, but next week, the last week of March, they're releasing Sim Update 15, and with that is going to come some changes to the way this helicopter flies, and should be some nice improvements. Although I'm enjoying it as it is now, it is a lot of fun to fly. And having fun motoring around. Haven't tried any other helicopters since I got a little bit better at flying these things, but I'm sure they will come. But it is coming along really well. The airport's coming up. You can see it ahead. And it's on the ridge just before the water there, and then town is once again inside the little sound there. We can see the light flashing at the airport. And we'll just carry on overhead, heading up to Tobermory, which, as mentioned, is up at the tip here. So the terminal building, 2 stories, you could actually go up to the roof. They had picnic tables and stuff, and you could sit out there and enjoy the sunset. Lake Huron's off to our left there, and again Georgian Bay to the right. And there's the airport. Carry on. So we're slowly going to work our way up to the west coast of the peninsula here, and then we'll follow the coastline up to the airport.
China 124, attitude, airport 23 airport.
Okay, just taking a quick look at the airport. I believe it is a... Oop. Let me just reset here. There we go. It is a single runway with the little administration area up at the northwest end. So that's where we're going to aim at putting down. Sorry, just looking at something. Try to keep that altitude just over 1,000 feet.
5 rolling engineer, contact Montreal 135. Air Canada 04, Montreal.
Kind of the one central road there leading upwards.
Air Canada 604, happy day.
You can see where we are now on the map. There's the night lighting on the panels, that green lighting. Definitely a little bit gloomier out there today, at least up at this end of the leg. So this thing's got a pretty good fuel burn. We've only burned 1,000 pounds of fuel. Not sure what the endurance of this thing is, especially as we're empty right now. So this is the north end of the Bruce Peninsula, as I mentioned. There's the waterway that goes between Lake Huron and Georgian Bay at the top end. Across the way, which we're going to fly over next time we're up here, is Manitoulin Island. I think it's the largest island in the freshwater lake. It kind of separates Lake Huron and Georgian Bay. And it's one of those places that have lakes within lakes, islands and lakes and islands and lakes and islands and lakes all nestled into each other. But it's pretty big. We're going to fly over that as we head up towards crossing over into the U.S. and landing on Mackinac Island. A little bit of sunshine coming up ahead. Looks like we've got a break in the clouds. See a little bit more farm country once we get up to the north end here as the ground flattens out. The escarpment, that rough land back there, kind of smooths off. Bunch of farms down here, little communities along the water as well. Just about to start to see the top end of the peninsula come onto their in-flight map there. We're going to pop back out into the sunshine. Very nice. We're at about 1,300 feet above the ground. Roughly 2,100 foot on the barrel. This is all manual flying. There is currently no autopilot in the aircraft. What's going to be nice is when it matches with the new sim update, you can see down on the panel there's a heading, barrel, alt, and radar alt. Those are the autopilot modes. So you'll be able to do a heading mode and it'll follow the heading, and you can have it hold the barrel altitude, or you can have it hold a radio altitude, which would be great if you're doing low-level flying and you want it to hold 500 feet. It'll hold 500 feet for you. So if you're flying into Toronto from the west, or Vancouver or Asia or whatever, coming in over the Western Canada, this is the way you come down. The jets loop over the top of the lakes here, and they are descending down over the Bruce Peninsula, heading down southwards towards Toronto. About 1,000 feet above the ground. Looking good. So the guys in the back can start getting ready. Let them open the door.
Toronto, good morning, Jazz 958, with you, flightable 350. Jazz 958.
Bring the ramp down. Be a little bit cold for them, but that's okay. So there's the top of the peninsula coming into view. Not much further to go. looking good. It's Miller Lake, a little community here of Miller Lake. Coming up just on the other side here. Kind of around where that road curves. So airport is more or less straight ahead. Again, I believe that the admin area is up at the northwest end. So that's where we're going to aim to put down.
Air Canada 444 Montreal 13505. 35 delay.
I love how you can hear that whine of the transmissions. And then the thump of the blades over top of that. So I think we can start to see the airport, that kind of lighter patch up there at about our 11 o'clock. We're going to swing out kind of towards the road, and we'll follow the road up a little bit.
Oscar 349.
And we should be able to swing out towards the airport from there. You got a lot of visual flying going on here. Keep an eye on those aerials and antennas. See the airport just off to the left of the road here. So coming in, fuel is good, engine instruments are all looking good. Everything is good up top. Coming down to about 500 feet. Come to this side to avoid that tower. There's the airport. Start slowing down.
Alaska 349, we have some military blocks going hot. Are you able 360 before you hit St. Marie? Negative for Alaska 349. Okay, yeah, we'll just, there'll be a little bit of free route around. Thanks a lot.
We don't want to get too slow too fast. A little bit of a crosswind coming in from the right.
Greener 091, contact Boston Center. 123.87. 7387,
Keep that forward momentum going. We are going to be crabbing slightly just because of that wind. "70 feet. "60 feet. Keep the forward momentum going. Let her ease down. We're going to go into ground effect, which is I think one rotor width, so let's call it 40 feet or so. Keep going forward. Nice and gentle. It's 25 feet up. Rolling a little bit. Get her down. It's 8 feet, 6 feet. 5 feet. It's the tail down, and we are down. All right. So quickly going to come up here.
42456, Toronto, good morning.
Power steering on. And we can now steer her in. Alright, it's getting better. Hovering is becoming a little bit easier. Put her over here. Kind of out in the open. And there we go. So we'll get the parking brake on. And we are good for shutdown. So we'll make sure the wheels are locked. Come on. There we go. Now we're good there. Power steering swivel is set. Engines have been spooling fit. So flight controls are in neutral. Parking brake lever is set. Heaters are off. MSFS selection switch is off. Come up to the APU. Starting the APU. And while that comes up, the guys in the back will get out. Make sure everything is good. Let's see if I get that ramp down here. Yep, there she goes. Alright, sounds like the APU is on, so APU generators will come on. Engine generators coming off. Condition levers go to ground for engine 1 and engine 2. Crossfeed is closed. Fuel pumps off.
Gas 958, Montreal now.
Engine condition levers will go to stop.
Over Montreal, 1356.
Close the fans and the doors. FADEC backup power is off. APU will come off. APU will come off. And we'll shut her down. There we go. Oh, there's an interesting view. Thank you very much for flying along. We'll see you in the next one. The leg should take us to the northwest and out over to Mackinac Island once the live stream tour with this helicopter will begin. See you then.